Person in Person is brought to you by the Perineum Group, the only truly centrist news organization.
That's right, Greg. We're in the sweet spot between partisan extremes, when tain't the left and tain't the right.
It's Perineum.
Tonight on Person in Person.
That's hilarious.
Call us Ishmael. Seriously, it's easier.
These squirrels are nuts.
Deck the halls with your own leg.
Hawaiian Lunch.
Shit healthcare begets shit medicine, Randy. All these stories plus sports, weather, food crime, and a movie review. That's tonight
On Person in Person.
Good evening, wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome to Person in Person. I'm Gene Person.
And I'm Greg Person.
No relation. Person in Person is a news show for people who don't like news shows, by people who don't like news shows. Well, we're officially out of 2020 and into 2021. Some of us are still in 2016, and plenty of us are apparently in 1600.
Like 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
No, there's just one of us in there. I don't know. I have no idea what it's like in there. I've never been.
Well, I have, but I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Well, enough about us. Let's pop the cork on tonight's main news stories. It's main news.
All right, so our first story, and those of you who are too online might be familiar with this one already, but Hilaria Baldwin, the wife of retired actor and current SNL character Alec Baldwin, is of Dolezal, which is, she is a basic white lady pretending to be a different race for fun, for clout, for whatever reason these people do that. She's actually just a basic wasp from Massachusetts. Her maiden name, Hillary Hayward Thomas. The whitest name I've ever heard.
Wow. So we have another one of these weird... Okay.
I know, they're popping up like mushrooms in a dank cave or something. They just spontaneously generate from the weird cultural stew of liberalism.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. I know that there's a tendency among white people to sort of play oppression Olympics, and I wonder if it's just trying to glom on to, you want to be a victim so bad that you want to pretend to be victim. I don't know. It's so weird.
And not only that, but also, to be cool, because multiculturalism is cool. Other people's cultures are cool. Your basic white Massachusetts culture is not cool. So you're like, I know, I'll pretend to be Spanish. And oh boy, did this lady pretend. She lied about her whole history, her whole family.
Uh-huh.
She affected this really great DreamWorks cartoon character accent. She pretended not to be able to speak English, so she was on the Today Show, and some people have seen this clip. She's on the Today Show pretending to talk about traditional Spanish dishes, and she's like, and we have, how you say, cucumber.
Holy shit.
It's like, bitch, you know what a cucumber is. You've been eating cucumber sandwiches since you were born, because you're Hillary Hayward Thomas from Massachusetts.
Wow.
So here's the thing. Here's what I want to bring to this discussion. I think we should just, refer to these people as Dolezals for convenience, because that is clearly, we didn't realize it at the time, but that's a class of person.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those people, and there's going to be more. And I don't know whether we should consider it its own ethnic group or a philosophy or a mental illness, but we should be studying these people, trying to figure out what's going on, which I think is what we're doing right now. So
right, there's something interesting in this phenomenon, to be sure. But yeah, I'm fine with the nomenclature of them Dolezals.
Now, what I find interesting is that I can't really find any examples of male Dolezals. I mean, we have weeaboos, but weeaboos don't pretend that they're Japanese. I mean, if they thought they could, they probably would. They probably do online. But it seems to me that the dolezal is a female phenomenon. I haven't been able to find any male dolezals, but that also might be because I've been Googling male dolezal,
Right.
which is not... The rest of the world hasn't caught up to the nomenclature yet that I invented. So...
Right. So male dolezal is likely to just get you results of, her sons or husbands or whatever.
Right, which, not what I'm looking for necessarily.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of looking at things on the internet, which is, pretty broad segue, she did make Hillary made a post on Instagram this past Sunday where she said, "Yes, I am a white girl." And you'll notice in this post, she didn't have her Spanish accent anymore, her fake Antonio Banderas accent. She says, "I'm like really, really proud of who I am." First thing I want to say to Hilaria Dolezal, first of all, Spaniards are white.
Mm-hmm.
If you had ever been to Spain or met a Spanish person, Spaniards are white. And second, no, you're not. You are not proud of who you are. Who you are is such a weird, toxic mess in your brain that you will be spending years of time in therapy and thousands of dollars of Alec Baldwin's money trying to figure that out. But you're a long way from being proud of it. We can say that for sure.
Yeah. Our second story this week, a Japanese municipal office by the name of, and here we go, Shibushi-shi, Shibushi-cho, Shibushi no Shibushi, Shiakusho, Shibushi Shisho, has decided, for some reason, to change its name. This roughly translates to Shibushi Branch Office of Shibushi City Hall, Shibushi Town of Shibushi, Shibushi City, given that it's the Shibushi District of Shibushi. But the name is officially changing. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
It is changing to Shibushi-shi, Shibushi-cho, Shibushi no Shibushi, Shiyaku Honcho.
I feel like that's shorter, but I can't swear to it.
They're changing the name from branch office to main office. The last two syllables of the name were hardly my biggest concern. The mayor of Shibushi, a certain Mr. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Yeah, that's my name too. Not really, I'm Greg Person.
Unlike fucking Austria, Shibushi had a reason to change its fucking name. However, just like fucking, Shibushi didn't change it enough. So we've gone from this incredibly long, difficult to say name with lots of SH sounds to this incredibly long, difficult to say name with too fewer SH sounds and honcho in place.
So my question though is, it's hard for us to say, and congratulations to you for what I assume was a flawless rendition of it.
And that was my first try saying it out loud, believe it or not.
Well, I know that you have studied Japanese. I briefly studied Japanese and gave up because it's really hard.
Well, I want to say that I was not necessarily following Japanese pronunciation conventions when I spewed that out, because a lot of U's are kind of elided in Japanese pronunciation, but still.
Well, and I think that's fine though. My general rule of thumb is like, there are languages that I speak that I don't attempt to drop them into English sentences. Like, I don't go to a Mexican restaurant and order an enchilada. I just wouldn't do that.
Yeah, same.
So, and I mean, of course, there are people that will. They're dolezals, and they need to be stopped.
Shibushi is home to Chiyomaru, a famous sumo wrestler. I guess my only real question about this story, Greg, is if we go to Shibushi-shi, Shibushi-cho, Shibushi no Shibushi, Shiyaku Honcho, should we share sashimi?
Or maybe we could seashells by the seashore.
Sure.
We could lay by the bay and make things out of clay and eat some hay.
Okay.
Residents of Queens, New York have been viciously attacked by one or more renegade squirrels. The city has told them that they can't help. They're going to have to pool their money to hire a private trapper, which they have done, but so far no luck. And many people have been bitten by these squirrel or squirrels, because the thing is, you think you could beat a squirrel in a fight, but you are wrong, because squirrels are fast, they'll bite you, and, they just don't give a shit.
Yeah, this story is kind of nuts.
And, it reminds me of the rat story of the Chipotle from a couple weeks ago. I think the rodents are finally getting it together on the Squirrel warfare front. You like that one?
Yeah.
Squirrel warfare?
It's very nice.
Okay, good. So the thing is, one squirrel, it's like ferret legging, but you don't know you're playing, and the squirrel is playing for keeps.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't have too much more to say about it. Like, it doesn't provoke a lot of discussion, but
I wonder what the incidents or if there's like a common denominator in all of these attacks. Like, I wonder if any of these people were wearing a Sarah Jessica Parker perfume.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that one's specifically formulated for kangaroos, though, isn't it?
But aren't kangaroos really just a giant squirrel that can kick the shit out of you?
Oh, that's a good point. Imagine this. Okay, so if it's finally... Do you remember that show Zoo that was on Netflix?
No.
One of the stupidest things I ever saw. If you want to see something that's just deeply, deeply dumb, I recommend it. It's about all the animals on Earth, for some reason, spontaneously start killing the humans. I have this vision now of a kangaroo hops up to you, and you think, oh, this is fun. Is this for a bit? Did I win a radio contest? What's going on? And from that kangaroo's pouch leap a cadre of bloodthirsty squirrels who are just on you immediately, rending and tearing.
I love it. We've got ourselves a sequel. Kangaroo Jack is Willard in Kangaroo Jack the Ripper 2, Squirrel Warfare.
It's hard as fuck to say, but it feels so good.
Cut and print.
Writing movies is easy. I don't know what all those assholes at Starbucks are complaining about.
I'm waiting to see the McDonald's cinematic universe. I had a thought about that today. This is something I should suggest to Greg, where we just dive in and plot out an origin story for each of the characters in the McDonald's family of marketing creatures.
Well, I think the first movie has got to be a heist movie, right?
Right. It's definitely a some kind of heist of burgers involving, I don't know. We'll come up with a character at some point.
Well, the Hamburglar, I feel like, is an ideal first movie villain, and then in the sequel movie, they realize, oh, we're not so different, and...
But maybe the Grimace was pulling the strings all along.
Well, this is a bit of McDonald's trivia that may or may not even make it into the show, but Grimace was originally created as a villain. He was a monster. He had 6 arms and wings, and he was... very scary, and he wanted to, I think, steal milkshakes.
Well, and that makes sense. I've always seen him as a Kingpin type character.
But you're right, though. I mean, underneath that purple felt, he's all muscle.
Yeah. So 24-year-old Justin Fernandez of Toronto lost his leg while he was walking home from work when he was hit by a motorcycle. To gain closure, Fernandez reached out to a taxidermy forum and received a response from the Prehistoria Natural History Center in Toronto. Apparently, the organization does pet memorials and animal skeleton displays, and they wanted to help him heal, so they preserved his leg. They did this for him for free. Quite the savings, since the first quote he received was for $15,000 from a conventional taxidermist.
Wow.
Now he can grieve his lost limb in style, and it's a reminder to him that if this kind of trauma doesn't kill us, you can move on. So I think this story is wonderful. I think people handle things, obviously, in all different kinds of ways. Honestly, this seems like a perfectly healthy way to deal with it, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to tell too much about myself, but I can tell you that there is a tub of used medical equipment and things that used to be inside my body that I keep as mementos. Now, I don't take them out and look at them or anything, but they do exist, or it's like keeping your baby teeth. You're like, oh, here's my baby leg before I got my robot leg,
I used to keep my appendix in a jar until one day little Jean tried to drink the fluid and then it was no longer sterile, so I had to throw it away. That's completely apocryphal.
No, I can see that happening. That kid, he's good with jars, like an octopus.
Fernandez had to jump through a lot of metaphorical hoops to make this happen. He had to complete a custom waiver just to get the leg out of the hospital. Apparently it was all boxed up with biohazard stickers. The team used a process removing soft tissue and then peroxide to both whiten and stabilize the bones. The end result is a kind of surreal display that arrived to him just before Christmas. And I just think it's so cool to have, this set of bones that used to make up a part of you on display. I just think it's kind of neat. And I don't know what you do with it from that point. Given who I am and how I am, I'd probably use it as a hat stand or something.
I mean, you do need all the hat stands you can get.
Right, I've got a lot of hats. I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, writer, producer, bird watcher,
husband, father, dancer, lover,
bullfighter,
joker, smoker, midnight toker, sinner, grinner.
Yeah. Some people call you the space cowboy.
They don't call me that.
No one's ever called you the space cowboy.
Nope. All right, so on to the next story.
All right, so there is a New York resident suing King's Hawaiian rolls because they're not actually Hawaiian. They're from California.
But they're a Hawaiian recipe, right?
Well, see, that's the thing that made me... Because this is not a food dolazal situation.
Right.
Right? Because Kentucky Fried Chicken, you don't have to think that every bucket is from Kentucky. And in fact, Harlan Sanders wasn't from Kentucky.
Well, and is it really that big a deal breaker that Hawaiian is in the name? That I don't know.
Well, his contention is, and I haven't been able to find a copy of the actual complaint that was filed in court because the thing about these kind of cases is you have to specify some injury that was done to you. And he's trying to put together a class action lawsuit of people who have been harmed by King's Hawaiian, but I can't figure what the harm might be, because the complaint does say that there is a picture of Hawaiian stuff on the packaging and it says Hilo Hawaii on the packaging, which definitely does make you think that it comes from Hilo Hawaii. I mean, if I send you a box and it has Hilo Hawaii written on it, you're not going to think that it came from Utah.
Well, that's a fair point.
But, we don't really demand that level of geographitic authenticity from our food, I don't think.
Right, and this is my point, is that it may say Hilo Hawaii, but I don't know that I'm damaged in any way by the fact that it's not from there. They still taste freaking great, and my enjoyment of them is not diminished by the fact that they're made in California.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sriracha's made in California, and that's never done me any harm. Most perfect sauce ever devised by man.
That's done me some harm, but not so much. Not so much on the way in as on the way out.
Yeah, I mean, you'll recover after a day or so. But the thing about this lawsuit is, if anybody out there listening has access to the kinds of databases where you can actually see the court filings and release those to the public, send those to me, because I actually really do want to read this complaint. I want to find out what harm has been done, not only to this man, but to the whole class of people who have consumed King's Hawaiian rolls in the belief that they're from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And
if I were the judge on this case, I would respond to the question of how I was going to handle this lawsuit with just aloha.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll give you that. That's good. You can't see it, but
yeah, it's not great. I apologize for the quality of that pun.
No. It's good. It's one of those things. Sometimes you just gotta do it. I was actually right now. I'm trying to think of a Hawaiian pun, and nothing's coming.
Well,
Hawaiian pun. That's almost kind of a.
It's almost Hawaiian punch.
Hawaiian pun.
Right.
Yeah, which is a thing that is also not Hawaiian, and nobody gave a shit about that either.
Right. All right. So good news for people suffering from symptoms that may develop into heart attacks or type 2 diabetes. A new study suggests that there is something you can do to stave off the inevitable, but that something might, put some kind of grin on your face, because it's eating shit.
Is it? No, thank you.
Specifically, the shit of healthy people. I am blown away by this story as you are, I promise. So apparently this originated out of a study to see whether eating healthy people's poop could help people lose weight. For real, that's the origin. Some svelte scientific Marie Antoinette saying let them eat shit.
Before you continue, I need you to clarify for me, are they eating the shit, or is it being injected up into their rectums or something? Because those are totally different experiences.
They are taking the shit in capsules.
Fuck no. Okay, continue.
While the study found that the weight stayed on when consuming this shit, it also increased positive bacteria in the gut, effectively a fecal transplant. It reduced blood pressure and blood sugars, lipids, all kinds of positive health effects from shit pills. The study was conducted by Professors Wayne Cutfield and Justin O'Sullivan from the Liggins Institute at the University of Auckland, New Zealand. I have not seen photos of either of them, but given the fact that we're talking about coprophagia, I am going to want to check for glasses.
Yeah, we need to know if these are real scientists or if this is just some Baroque plan to film people eating shit.
Apparently, a documentary has been made about this study called The Good Shit.
Okay, so here's my question. Now, they say that it's like a fecal transplant, but we already had fecal transplants and it didn't require anybody to eat the shit. So why don't we just keep doing that? Is that somehow more difficult than convincing someone to literally eat a pellet of someone else's shit?
I think it may be a more expensive procedure.
Oh, so, that makes me so mad. Oh, the thought of that makes me so mad. So, the 2 tiers of healthcare that we know that we have now extend to, listen, here's a therapy that can help you, but unless you've got your gold platinum plan, you're literally going to eat human shit. Flames. Adding a class element to this made me so much madder.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the scientists was quoted as saying, posited a number of ways that we can make people healthier, and this is our number 2 solution.
There you go. That's pretty good. I'll give you that one.
Okay. On to our bonus stories.
In Australia, apparently the new thing that is catching on their beaches, because of course it's summertime down there, is mermaiding. And that's where you put on a decorative mermaid tail, and then you sort of kick swim your way through the water like a mermaid.
Before falling in love with a prince and dissolving into sea foam?
Yes, that is the final stage, is you rejoin the great Mother Ocean from which you came. But apparently they started doing this after hearing that it was all the rage in Britain and America, and I think that's something that somebody made up, because I swear to God I've never heard of this.
Is that all the rage over here? Because yeah, I have seen not one, uncommercial mermaiding here in the US.
Folks, I have lived in some of the hippiest places on earth. I have seen some of the dumbest, goofiest fucking pastimes you can imagine. Devil sticks, poi, contact juggling. If anybody was mermaiding, it would be these assholes, and I've never heard anybody tell me they were going mermaiding. Now, I will say I don't know much about Australia, although every week I'm learning more because it seems like some wild stuff is always happening in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I hear, they do have a shark situation, and it seems like this is something that would make you way more attractive to sharks and also easier to catch.
Yeah, well, not to mention the sea foam that I mentioned earlier on the west side of Australia is all over the place, and apparently sea snakes have taken up residence in that stuff now. So,
oh shit, so that's another hazard to try and avoid with your legs all bound up in some kind of gimmicky flipper.
Right, for some reason.
But I will say this though, and this is why I think it actually might be a smart idea. They might be 2 steps ahead, because we know that Tom Hanks also visits Australia.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm. Making yourself more attractive to Tom Hanks might be very smart. We know that he loves mermaids.
Right. There's more than one way to make a splash in Tom Hanks's life.
Exactly. And he's super rich. He seems like a really neat, fun guy. He seems real nice. I mean, maybe that's the end game. You're thinking, I hope I don't get eaten by a shark, but maybe I'll get rescued by Tom Hanks, and then we'll be together forever in my kingdom under the sea.
Of course.
And that's where the plan falls apart, because they forget that at the end of Splash, she doesn't stay on dry land and inherit his wholesale grocery business. He goes to live with her, in the kingdom under the sea, but you don't have a kingdom under the sea because you're not really a mermaid.
Well, that and the fact that he's married to Rita Wilson,
who also seems delightful, and I bet they are ridiculously happy together.
Our final bonus story tonight, update, the Rocketeer has been caught on tape.
No way.
An unidentified man covered in a previous episode who had been spotted twice by pilots soaring 3,000 feet in the air in a jetpack has been caught on tape. The video was shared to the Instagram account of Sling Pilot Academy, a flight school in the area. Police and FBI, as well as the FAA, have been looking for this gent since late summer, and will no doubt be looking at this video very closely. Now, it could be a legal test flight because there is a jetpack manufacturer near LA, but I like to think it's our Rocketeer friend screaming, "Fuck the police." Probably hits different, with nothing underneath you but 3,000 feet of air in the state of California.
To clarify, he's been caught on film, but not actually caught, right?
No, just on tape.
Fuck yeah. Continue.
The flight school also isn't 100% sure that this is the guy. The video is kind of grainy and Patterson-like. So yeah, it could be a drone or something, but it really, really looks like a guy in a jetpack. Have you checked out personandpersonshow.com yet?
We have a website now,
where you can stream full episodes of the show.
Visit today, personandpersonshow.com.
That's personandpersonshow.com.
The only news website by persons for persons.
And now, the emotional weather. So we've got 3 categories as usual. This week we have chosen in honor of RuPaul's Drag Race coming back for a new season. Bawdy, Auddy, and Auddy. That's Bawdy, B-A-W-D-Y, Auddy, O-D-D-Y, and Auddy, A-W-E-D-Y.
Yes, I got that immediately when you sent me the emotional weather beats, and I was very pleased. Well, because you and I are both tremendous fans of Drag Race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful show with very talented artists.
Well, my Bawdy emotional weather comes from Bridgerton, which is a new pastiche of the Regency novel of Manners on Netflix. I think it's a Shonda Rhimes show, don't hold me to that, but it does have that vibe in that it's like a little bit smarter than The Dumbest Thing You've Ever Seen, and it's really sexy and trashy and fun. So if you're looking for a show about beautiful, horny young people doing each other, if you were looking for a Jane Austen adaptation but you thought that Clueless was too smart and not horny enough, you should watch Bridgerton. It's a lot of fun.
Now, I've also chosen a streaming TV series for Bawdy, Greg, albeit on a rival network. Less Jane Austen and more Jane English. Harlots tells the story of a house of ill repute in 1763 London. It's very sexy, very funny, and really engaging television. Cancelled too soon, as with a lot of promising shows in this modern age of streaming, it's a suitable palate cleanser to stuffy period pieces.
See, I agree. I feel like that, because I watched Harlots and enjoyed it a great deal, and it did kind of ride that same line of like, okay, we know that this is not real period, this is not the History Channel, we're just gonna have some fun and some costumes. It's basically Penny Dreadful, but for sex instead of monsters.
Right.
And that's
delightful.
Cool, because it's a rad show. So Audie, I want to talk about Hong Kong-based food company Omni Foods. They've created a vegan Spam, which I'm all about, because I flirt with veganism, but there are certain things that I just have a hard time cutting out of my diet, and one of them is Spam, which I unironically love and eat a ton of.
I absolutely agree. I unironically love Spam as well.
And it's a lot more popular in Asia, apparently. I've never been to Asia and can't speak to it, but I have eaten a lot of Asian food that did include Spam, and I gotta say, they're doing it right over there. But a vegan alternative would really hit the spot for me. And from all reports, if you're a Spam connoisseur, you'll be able to tell the difference, but you won't necessarily mind. Kind of like a Beyond Burger.
I'm curious to see what they call it, because if it's anything like McPlant, I'm not on board.
No, it's called Omni Pork Luncheon Meat.
Okay, that's all right. Omni Pork, that's kind of fun.
Now, I didn't see any...
They're going to face a lawsuit from the pork industry, but...
Well, bring it on, because I feel like we've got to sweep these dusty old relics aside. Like, I love Spam, but if there was a vegan alternative that I could find acceptable, I would switch. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
And unfortunately, though, from what I read, there aren't any immediate plans to market it in the United States.
Oh, see, there's the rub.
Well, but we can still buy it. I mean, I import, stuff from all over the world that is not sold in American supermarkets. I've got the Maggi ketchup.
Yeah, I've had all kinds of crazy Kit Kats from Japan.
Yeah, the Kit Kats, the salmiakki from Finland. You get the prawn-flavored crisps from the UK. Those are amazing.
My Audie story, a home on the market in Vermont is being offered with a unique feature, jail cells. That's right, the home was the jailer's residence prior to 1969. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath house with an updated kitchen, only $149,000. Someone should let Bill and Ted know. It's quite the angle for a B&B. And by Bill and Ted, I mean Bill Suff and Ted Bundy, because they might also be interested.
That's really funny. Yeah, if I went to your house and you had jail cells in it, I don't care what the story is. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear how you got...
Right.
I'm fucking leaving. I'm leaving before I can't.
Yeah. Whoever wants to buy that house, 99.9% chance they're a serial killer or something. They want those cells for something.
And you can't tell me afterward. Like, if you told me before I ever came over, then maybe you could get me to your house. But
if you're just oh my God,
yeah,
I can't even imagine.
You go to someone's house, you're new in the neighborhood, they invite you over, they've got a cheese plate, you're thinking, oh man, this neighborhood's great, people are so cool, I'm gonna love living here. And they're like, hey, do you want to check out the basement? And you're like, sure. And you go down there, and no, there's nothing you could say.
Right. At that point, you're either fighting them or you're gonna end up in a cell.
Immediately, my first thought is like, okay, what are my exits? Is there anyone behind me right now? Do I smell chloroform?
And it does feel like that would be like a real, like, old-fashioned John Wayne Gacy party trick type situation. If he had 7 jail cells in his basement, they would have been put to use. And it would have been one of those, hey, you want to see something kind of cool?
Yeah, the only thing you could say, really, to get me to come over to your house if you bought the prison house was to say, oh yeah, it had a bunch of jail cells when I moved into it, but I tore those right out. It's a giant rec room now.
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit different. All right, what is your story for Audie?
I want to talk to you guys, and I know everyone's experienced this. It is a very popular natural feature, but I want to talk to you guys about the moon, because I've recently changed locations. I used to live in a small town, and now I live very, very isolated out in the desert, and the air here is so clear that the moon and the stars at night shine so bright. It's brighter than the city is, really, even with streetlights, because it's everywhere, and particularly when there's snow on the ground, it reflects so much light that it's never fully dark. At midnight, you go outside, and the whole world is visible with this soft blue glow. It is just ethereal and beautiful, and frankly a little scary, because you've just never seen the world like this before. And so it filled me with awe in the best sense. So even on nights when it's too cold to go out for a walk late at night, I do like to just sit on the porch and look at the moon and the stars and how bright they've made everything.
Sure. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Greg.
You bet. And thank you for sharing your horrible prison house story.
I know this will probably come off as a little corny, but I've chosen the experience of being a parent to little Gene as my story for Audie. Over the Christmas season, he's awoken the spirit of celebration I didn't know was still alive in me. And watching him snooze away New Year's Eve, I just stared at him, feeling overwhelmed by how wonderful and sweet and talented this little 2-year-old boy that I helped make is. I mean, he constantly catches me off guard, and there are these little moments when I see my own face in his. It's a bizarre, trip, and it's humbling, it's rewarding. It's also not for everyone, and I understand that, but Little Jean wins this one for me every time.
You know, most kids are pieces of shit. We can all agree. I think secretly everybody on Earth believes that. But Little Jean is a good egg, and I think he'll grow up to be a decent person.
Yeah, he's a good kid. As you know, every week our investigative team presents a detailed and harrowing story on food crime. This week, Greg Person has the story.
Now, folks, we know that we go pretty hard on the UK, specifically England. I don't really have a beef with Scotland or Wales. My issue is with England. And, you know, the thing, though, is you can't say that we don't have good reason. For example, the grocery store chain Tesco has this abomination, the Lasandwich.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a lasagna sandwich. Cost £2.50, so that's like $4 American. You get a lasagna sandwich. It's white bread with beef in a tomato herb sauce, cooked sheets of pasta, so bread and pasta together in the same dish. You got a creamy cheddar, ricotta, and mayonnaise dressing.
Cheddar?
Now, I feel you on cheddar, but I was stuck on mayonnaise.
Well, okay, I know you have an aversion to mayo,
because
but
we both. I'm saying, you and I, we both love a good lasagna.
yeah,
And I've never had mayonnaise in a lasagna.
yeah, and I mean I've had mayonnaise on like a meatball sub, and it was not ideal. So I get that. I don't want cheddar anywhere near there either, though. That is not an appropriate flavor.
No, absolutely. I love cheddar. Gun to my head, cheddar is probably my favorite utility cheese.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But no, don't put cheddar in a lasagna. For sure, don't put mayonnaise in a lasagna. Don't put pasta in a sandwich, and don't make a sandwich with white bread and call it a lasagna.
Right, and that's the other thing I was going to say. You're using white bread and putting this this tomato and herb beef on it. It's just that bread is gonna be disgusting. It is gonna be soggy and falling apart. Ugh, I can picture this thing in my mind right now, and I'm gonna go Google an image of it because I want to see what it looks like.
Well, the whole thing is a goddamn nightmare. I'm just so glad that the UK is banning itself so that we don't have to ban them, because that island has gone completely to hell.
Okay, so it doesn't look like the bread is falling apart because it doesn't even look like food.
No, it looks like a picture of food, or like a toy shaped like food.
It looks like a peanut butter and jelly with cheese, honestly.
Yeah, well, I'm certain it's disgusting. I haven't read any reviews because the day that I give a goddamn what any Englishman thinks about food will be the day that I stop reporting on food crime.
Well, I will say this for the English. I like the beans on toast. I really do.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's awesome.
Baked beans. No.
It's awesome. I don't know what to tell you, Greg. I appreciate the beans on toast.
There are many elements of the traditional English breakfast that I find very appealing. I love a black pudding. You know, I love me some sausages. I love bacon, tomato, the whole thing. You start putting baked beans on your breakfast, you fucking lost me.
All right, well,
I'm sorry.
I mean, this is one of the points of contention. We have had this discussion before many times, and we'll probably continue having it, but now is not the time.
You know, we'll never see eye to eye on this. It's just, I love a bean. I just think beans have a time and a place, and I don't think that breakfast is it.
All right, on to sports.
Folks, I want to tell you about what is unironically one of my favorite sports and favorite sports movies. It's called Murderball. This is the official name of the sport is wheelchair rugby. They used to call it Murderball, and then they changed it because nobody wanted to sponsor a sport called Murderball. But it is a very, very intense sport. It's rugby in a wheelchair. That's pretty much how it goes. And the wheelchairs are these specially fabricated battering rams.
Oh, that's awesome.
That are just, they're just absolutely deadly. And there's a movie, a documentary by the same name called Murderball. It's from 2005. It is no doubt the best sports movie I have ever seen, apart from Major League.
Wow. Okay, Major League, huh? That's...
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, very different movies, but if you have to say sports movies, which one's better, I would probably rather watch Major League 9 times out of 10. But other than that, Murderball. Because it's just a great story. You know, it tracks the U.S. Paralympic team at that time. And the guys that were in that movie then, a lot of them are still in the sport as, you know, coaches or sometimes still playing. But wheelchair rugby is an incredibly intense sport. It's incredibly fun to watch. I would say it's fun. It looks fun to play. I've never played because I'm shit scared to.
Yeah.
But check out Murderball and let me know what you think.
I sure will. All right. We are going to commence with our Out of Frame movie review. For those of you who haven't listened to the show before, how dare you? Out of Frame is a segment where we review a movie that one of us hasn't seen. In this case, we're going double blind. That means neither of us has seen the movie in question. That movie, Wonder Woman 1984. We are now going to give a review of a film that neither of us have seen.
And also, at least for me, avoided most of the social media discourse about.
Oh, absolutely. The same here.
I'm kind of burnt out on Twitter lately. I've realized, I genuinely don't care what anybody thinks about anything.
Yeah, and that's one of the consequences of the social media world we have now, where we each think that our opinion is so important. And I'm no exception. We've done plenty of that exercise on this show. But is that when everyone's spewing their opinions out rapid fire into the void, you just tune out.
Exactly. I don't give two shits. Now, I am confident that I am never going to see this movie, so I'm in a perfect situation to review it.
So going back to let's do a little bit of background on this. Going back to when George Orwell wrote Wonder Woman 1984. Do you think the film adaptation is going to do it justice?
Well, there were a lot of things that he predicted that didn't turn out to be true. Of course, for him, he was writing about a dystopian future, and, you know, we're looking at it as a sort of an alternate history past where Wonder Woman has taken over the world, become its totalitarian dictator, a la Superman in the graphic novel Red Sun.
Yeah, double plus good.
Yeah, and you know, from what I've heard about this movie, though, it's double plus ungood. People tend to think of Wonder Woman as a symbol of heroism, and so seeing her become this sort of superpowered Stalin, crushing the world under her high-heeled boot, is, you know,
chilling, sexy, but chilling.
Yeah, it's like imagine a hot Lady Stalin. Yes, but okay. So I'm glad that Steve Rogers is in this movie too. The crossover between Wonder Woman and Captain America.
I thought it was an interesting crossover. I also thought it was interesting that they gave Wonder Woman the power of making fresh bread. I thought that was an interesting marketing tie-in. In this age when marketing has become sort of omnipresent, you expect product placements, but Wonder Bread was really smart to take up that torch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Wonder Bra.
Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, let's not forget the Wonder Bra.
Yeah, there was that whole climactic battle at the end, and if she hadn't been able to lift and separate on command, she would have been done for.
Overall, I thought that Wonder Woman 1984 was about what you'd expect, which is not great. Yet another superhero movie.
What I want to know is, in the future sequel, Wonder Woman 1994, is she going to fight all the Spice Girls?
I think that's, I mean, they pretty clearly set that up, didn't they? with her getting tossed into that spice rack.
Right, exactly. And then the one spice clunks down on her head and she looks at the label and it says scary on it and she's like, scary spice? What the hell?
Right.
And yeah.
Folks, this is a real snore fest, so we do not recommend.
Yeah, don't watch the movie we just described. It's stupid as hell.
Yeah, so that's our 2 minutes hate.
That's good. That's very good.
Our final segment tonight, as every week, is Person to Person and Person, where we share your valuable feedback with our audience. This week, rather than, because we don't have a lot of feedback, we're going to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Jaron. Jaron, you're one of the best people we know, and we love you. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your support and feedback. You rule, dude.
Jaron, always on fleek, always on point. Bless you.
Folks, that's all the show we have for you tonight. We invite you to participate in Person to Person and Person. There are so many ways for you to get yourself heard. Send us an email, personandpersonshow@gmail.com. Drop us a voicemail, 541-249-5933. Find us on Twitter @AnchorPersons and on Facebook @Person and Person Show. Find us on your favorite podcatchers. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show, or simply tell a friend. Check out our website, personandpersonshow.com. Until next time, this is Gene Person saying, you should always end a comedy set with a callback.
And this is Greg Person saying, ban the UK. Good night.
Two gin-scented tears trickled down the sides of his nose. But it was all right. Everything was all right. The struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Wonder Woman.